Hello, people of YouTube. I want to go on a little rant. I actually am mid-video that I was watching on YouTube about like this life coaching scam or whatever, and I found this channel that she like does a bunch of these. But it really got me thinking, and I just kind of wanted to talk about how like I feel like any human being, regardless of certification or station in life, that is telling another person that they 100% know how they should be living their life it's just a fraud because like we're never gonna know how other people should live their lives. Like no one does. We can figure out how to live our own best life. And while I do think there probably are some decent like coaches out there that are like health coaches, and obviously I think therapy is very helpful, but with like the life coach industry, there's no certification, so literally anyone can just be a life coach, and it's not regulated, and it's a breeding ground, I think, for like individuals who suffer from narcissistic personality disorder, because really, who thinks they know how to run other people's lives except like a narcissist, right? And of course, it got me thinking a little bit too, because I always will have my own worries of like narcissistic traits that I maybe am not conscious of. And so I was like, oh my God, I make videos. What if I'm like these life coaches? But the thing is, one, I'm not charging anyone anything, and I don't ever plan on charging anyone for advice. It just seems pretty unethical. Like, advice is just your opinion, like. And then two, like, I think I've made it pretty clear in like most of my videos. I'm like, hey, I don't have credentials for anything I'm talking about. Don't listen to me. I'm not telling you to do or say or think anything. The point of my videos is kind of just to like throw out topics that I think need to be discussed amongst like humans. I put it out there. I'm starting the conversation, and I hope that people will, in turn like respond with the conversation, and we can both learn and grow from it. But so yeah, I just wanted to go on a little rant about life coaching. Like, I really don't think there are many ethical life coaches. I don't know. I find that the people who pretend to have the most perfect lives and have it all figured out, they're really just the best at hiding their flaws, which actually means they're not good at confronting them and actually dealing with them as they arise, because I feel like truly healthy individuals, they're not flawless. They just know how to handle things with grace when they arise, and not always, but if they mess up, they handle that with grace as well. They like apologize, and they try to become a better person from the mistake rather than letting it hold them back or anything like that. But yeah, I don't trust people who like want to take over the lives of others. It's sketchy, like, and of course these people will target like very vulnerable people who have had extensive trauma in the past that want healing so desperately that they're willing to believe anyone could give it to them. And I mean, honestly, looking back, I feel really like lucky that I never fell for any like life coaching scam, but I've just never had enough money to fall for one. Because these people, they will take like thousands of dollars from people for like a month's worth of daily coaching calls. Like I think a lot of these like life coaches have these very toxic, like, I'd say boundaries, but they're really lack of boundaries, where they like really want all of your time and energy and effort to be like on them and their methods and praising them. Whereas I feel like any good mentor, it's not going to be about them as a person. It's going to be about, hey, I have this knowledge, and I think if I share it with you that you could do something useful with it in your own life, right? At least in my own experience, that's how any healthy, like, leadership position has been for me. They don't tell me, even in, like, therapy and stuff like that, where it's not really necessarily, like, they're the leader, but, there is a power dynamic that's beyond, like, typical peers. But even still, within the therapy dynamic, in my experience, a good therapist does not tell you what to think, say, or feel. They don't tell you what you should be doing, and they don't have, like, I don't want to say they don't have expectations for you, because they do have some expectations. Generally, good therapists have goals for you and stuff, but they're not going to have expectations for you that you don't want to have for yourself, basically. They're not going to try and control your own standards for success or anything like that. A good therapist merely is a person there to support you while they show you a process that you might be able to use with guidance, basically, to go through whatever emotional, thing may be bothering you. And if that doesn't work, that process doesn't work, they're not going to double down and be like, yeah, you have to use this. This is the only thing that works. A good therapist will be like, okay, this isn't working. Let's try something else. No shame. They're not going to judge you. They're going to say it's perfectly normal because people are all different and different things work for different people. Even with medicine, some people are allergic to penicillin. Like, what kills one person is going to save another. So I think everything is that variable in life, especially mental health and something as broad and general as life coaching, So I just wanted to share my general disdain for the concept of life coaches. I totally understand, like, a nutrition coach, because nutrition is something you can be formally educated in, right? You can know what micro and macronutrients the body needs and good ways to get them from different foods. You can have fitness coaches that teach you different healthy ways to work out your muscles and body. You can have mental health coaches, aka therapists or counselors, or even psychologists, that they have certification and training and standards, legal standards for what is acceptable behavior, right? But when you get to the life coaching industry, it's just not that. And I don't think anyone is an expert in life. I don't personally have too many people I know in my life that I'm like, yeah, I want to live exactly like you. You have everything all figured out. I really actually don't know anyone who has everything all figured out. And the only people that I can think of that, like, I'm like, oh yeah, they're showing an example of what we should be like, Buddha or something. Like, we don't really know for sure if they, did all these spiritual things, because there's no proof of the spiritual world that we know of, that I know of. And if you do, send me some proof. That'd be cool. Like, but as far as I know, there's no real proof of, like, the spiritual world, really. Like, nothing concrete or tangible that we have so far. And so there's no certification or standards for these intangible things, like how to process the trauma of just being alive, or like, just life coaching. There's no gold star check, you win life, now you can tell other people how to live. That's not how it works. You can definitely learn a specific subject and become an expert in it and share your knowledge with other people. But even, I feel, real genuine experts in their fields, the good ones, they're not out there saying that they are the definitive person to know everything about this. They're going to be like, yeah, I've studied this for so many years and I know this, this, and this. But they're willing to listen to people who know more, or maybe even know less but have a different perspective, And I think that's something that's really important when seeking any kind of mentorship or leadership, is that they're willing to admit, like, that they don't know everything and that they could be wrong. I think humility is, like, a really big virtue when seeking a mentor, because I don't want a mentor that's full of themselves, or, like, confidence is great, but confidence can still come with humility, and humility is being willing to recognize reality, that, like, no matter, even if you've studied, let's say, literature for 50 years, it's still going to change. Like, people are going to write more stuff. People might have different interpretations over time of classics and things like that. Science, obviously, still growing. Math is, there's all this kind of, like, theoretical math that we still haven't figured out. Like anything, there's always more to be learned. No one person knows everything, even specialists in that field. So just to think that people claim to be specialists in life and coaching people through life, which is such a broad, general thing, it's just, like, it frustrates me. And it makes me, like, I guess, upset and, like, worried for the vulnerable people out there that will be susceptible to being scammed in this way, and out of thousands of dollars too. And, like, in this economy, dude, that's not okay. I really do think that there should be, like, some kind of legislation to give some kind of repercussions for people who scam through, like, life coaching. But there's really no tangible way to be like, oh yeah, my life got worse after I used your life coaching. Because worse and better life is so subjective, and life in general is just very subjective. So I don't trust anyone telling people how to go live their lives. I think genuine connection and leadership and true mentorship, it's about the person who has that bit of power over the other, not trying to control them, not using that power to control them, but using that power to empower the other person, right? Like, I show you my power so that you can be inspired to have that in yourself, right? Because I think, just like my own experience with therapy, they don't ever claim, in my experience, good therapists don't ever claim to have everything figured out in their life. They don't claim to be perfect. They don't claim to never feel sad or anxious. They say, yeah, I feel all these things. They're normal. I'm human. I have my own therapist, and this is how I deal with them. This is how some other people deal with them. And they give you a lot of options of like how you could possibly deal with it. And sometimes they give you all these options and you're like, none of that works for me. And they're like, okay, well, let's come up with something else. What do you think? And so it's really just about, I think the biggest part of therapy, though, the tools and coping skills and all that are obviously very useful, I think the biggest piece that helped me was just having someone there in it with me that like validated that like it was okay that I was here in my emotions, and that it wasn't something I needed to like shit talk myself over, being able to feel emotions without guilt and shame. And so we get that by being with another person who is non-judgmental when we are vulnerable and do those things. And so I do think it, like it's not a bad thing, like people that offer like mentorship when they have successful lives where they, maybe have contributed to the good of humanity in some way, even if it's small, the people in their own lives, community, locally, I don't think it's bad for those kinds of people to offer like mentorship or, business classes. The line gets kind of gray there. Some are scams. But I do think, if you are like a semi-successful entrepreneur, and you have some tips and tricks you want to share, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I do think it's a little shitty putting it behind a paywall, though, because it's like, oh, so is your business just claiming you have business insight and then making people pay for it? And then it's like, make people pay for your business insight. Tell them you took my class. Because it's basically like a digital pyramid scheme at that point. A lot of those masterclass whatever things are. And it really sucks how the spiritual new age community like preys on the mentally ill who like think that people are like talking to angels and that's like a sign of divinity rather than a sign of schizophrenia. So it's like, but that's a whole other but yeah, here's my rant. I just kind of wanted to go off about the scamminess of coaching industries that I even though I haven't personally experienced being scammed because I don't have the kind of money they want, it's sad. I do know people who have been, and I've heard of people who know people that have been, and just watching this YouTube video about someone's story that they submitted to this YouTuber, I got halfway through it and they were talking about their mom being scammed, and it just made me really sad to think about like parents of like millennials who are in their 60s or something. You have cognitive decline starting after like 55, so like your logic and reasoning isn't necessarily up to par, and so you're just more easily manipulated into these kinds of financial scams. And I think using spirituality or people's trauma and like desire to heal is just like a really scummy way to like scam people out of money. Like, if you're gonna scam people, like try to scam shitty, like greedy people or something. They're gonna have the money anyways because they're shitty and greedy. But like, don't scam good people that like already had a hard life and just want to get better. Like, I don't know, it grosses me out, makes me sick, and made me need to rant. So I'm still feeling a little heated about it, even though I've ranted for 14 minutes. So I'm gonna have to try and figure something else out to let this energy off. I hope everyone has a good day, and don't fall for life coach bullshit. I mean, just really anyone. The term life coach is what gets me, because again, I don't think you can be certified in life. This isn't knocking good one-on-one mentorships or group mentorships where you're learning a vital skill. And I understand that people sometimes have to pay or charge for those things because that is kind of their business, but it shouldn't be like their main source of business. I think that's a good way to tell too, if something is a scam, like their main source of business is charging people for classes on how to do what they're doing, but what are they actually doing besides making classes and charging people for them, right? It's just a pyramid scheme. So yeah, I wish everyone discernment and wisdom when dealing with those kinds of things. Have a good one. Bye.